Everything, all motion is expressed in waves. All waves are expressed in curves. It always makes spirals. Their math, they have a thing called zero. They go from 1 to 0 to -1. There is no zero to even think zero. Zero should be attached to currency in that regard, because in physics, nothing remains still. There is nothing still in the universe. There is nothing that doesn't have motion, because everything is connected. So if one thing is still, everything that's connected to it has to be still. There can never be one thing still. So as electricity tries to get to its balanced state, right when it gets there, magnetism takes over and pushes over. So there is this pendulum, and as soon as it gets to this state, it bounces off that other noble gas and it makes its way all the way back over here. And it's about to have equanimity, and then it gets pulled back into other direction. And that's the breathing in and breathing out, and the pendulum effect that we've all observed as a natural phenomena in the universe. Everything behaves that way. Every one of our cells comes down to our cells are made up of water. Mostly water, 80%, 90% water. Somewhere water is hydrogen. Hydrogen has 12 vortices that's behaving like that, 12 opposing vortices. What happens to these suns when they supernova? Is everything getting old and die? And everything recompresses. It has to. You breathe out, what happens to that air? Another plant breathes that air in. This would be the universe itself. It would be the galaxies. It would be everything. Everything behaves in the same way. As the sun expands and projects and ejects particles, they expand. They go further and further from the sun, and at a certain point they come back. At a certain point, what do they hit? There's other expanding stars and waves colliding from the other star systems. They have an expanding solar winds. So when your star meets the solar wind from another star, at that end of that spot, now there is two pressure conditions. So you have another LeBron spot that's happening there. That's when those waves start coming back, but they get hit. And if they hit at 120 degrees, because that's how the universe is arranged, now these things become electric, so instead of coming from the planar side and expanding out at the equator, they now come back up from the northern and southern parts. The cosmos pulsates with the rhythms of ethereal oscillations. Every subatomic salvage, every quark ripples outward in ephemeral waveforms, etching a transient narrative onto the holographic tapestry of existence. These waveforms, far from the rigid lines of Euclidean geometry, gyrate in a curve, perpetually spiraling inwards upon themselves. It's a matter of universal dialectic, of dynamic fluctuation, where static hitting the noble gases and bounces back into this place. They posit the zero, which represents an antithesis of a hypothetical point of perfect equilibrium. where opposing forces hold each other until they break apart. And when they do, this zero concept goes against what we already can observe. The very fabric of existence is woven from the dynamic tendril, because everything is inexplicably linked. Imagine a stationary electron. Wouldn't the very concept of it mean that the universe can't exist or function? All that they can do within their theorem, that includes the concept of zero, makes it look like the hypothetical particles must go through the fourth dimension, forever exceeding the cosmic speed limit. That would completely disrupt the expansion probability. The electromagnetic field must move, and so it moves. If you theoretically disrupt the pendulum, then their presence in the counterpoint field would disrupt the established rhythm. This assumes that the economy is the very lifeblood of the universe. Our very bodies are microorganisms in the universe, down to the tiniest quark, vibrating with an intrinsic frequency, which subatomic equilibrium resonating in the same way that the sun is. And you can observe this by looking at the palm of your hand. Look at the celestial spectacle of a hypernova, and then look at your hand. Everything that burns electricity eventually reaches the midpoint, and then topples over. Everything is a point of explosive decompression. And when they die, the stars collapse in on themselves, leading to a new stellar birth. It's like a hadronic connectiveness. The star breaks down, collapses in on itself, then reforms into a brand new entity, and then it repeats, the same as it happens in our hand. Even the tendrils of a quasar's energy spot act in this way. They twist and contort, reaching the point of energetic exuberance, until they encounter the opposing tendrils of another quasar. This creates a pressure point, and in that place the two opposing forces engage in perpetual tug-of-war. But it doesn't stop there. The waveforms, they come back. Their trajectory is altered by this energetic collision. They say that the universe seems to have a predilection of dodecahedral rhombus formation. But it's not, it's tetrahedral. Look at your hand, and you see. And these returning waves, instead of flowing outwards in a predictable manner, they erupt into chaotic fractal patterns cascading downwards from the poles. It's a never-ending display of energetic fluctuation, where quarks cavort, leptons leap, and the very fabric of existence pulsates. The universe, in its infinite complexity, doesn't deal in absolutes. There is no such thing as perfect stillness. There is only the perpetual flux, the push and pull, whether they like it or not. This is what they don't understand about the concept of numbers as it pertains to our hands. The cosmos has a vortex of probability waves of entangled particles. Every galactic outburst, every nebulous swirl, ripples outward into potentialities. Nothing changes, everything stays the same. These narratives are far from the linear chronicles they comprehend, and they unfold in a non-linear progression. It's the space-time itself, and the electricity flows through it at the point where it meets the supernova, but not before. It's two sides of the pendulum and the middle, just like the hand. And this accounts for stellar nurseries. All of these things are just pressure conditions hitting each other, and they are causing the Birkeland current which is running through those higher electrical fields. But everything in the universe is just electricity, and we call it magnetism when it's devitalized. But it's still electricity. We call it the radiative side, but it's the feminine side. And the contractive side is the positive masculine side. There it's a balance, and it's never been anything but that balance. And we've complicated it with a lie. The universe backs me up, and I have the proof of it. None of them have introduced a new form of light with unlimited media bonding. None of them have discovered 4 supersymmetrical systems. This is what the collective is able to do when you put yourself onto the divine space, because that spirit is waiting. Make yourself available for it. What we do is write new axioms and new postulates based off the real wave conjugation. We adjust our understanding of our physics to fit natural phenomena. And then we are in balance with it. And we have to let go of the idea of currency. We're the only creatures in the known universe who use currency that uses indirect form of payment instead of direct exchange of energy from one Labron point to the next. Just look at your hand. I'm the time abuser. I'm here to abuse your time, and I think this abused your time efficiently and productively. Subscribe.